About 14,000 Americans are declared brain dead every year by physicians, and about 10,000 of those become sources for organs for transplantation. The declaration of brain death or whole body death or circulatory death is not just a matter of fact. What I attempt to show you today is that it's a deeply philosophical issue. It started with the first heart transplant in 1967 in Christian Barnard, and the controversy is even greater today than it's been in decades. I'm Gregory Pence, and this is Great Stories in Bioethics, my personal YouTube channel, where every Tuesday at 4 p.m. I post a new episode about what I think is a fascinating story. So you may remember in the first episode I did with Christian Barnard, there was an enigma about why Denise Darboll had died. Because at the time in South Africa, all circulation had
blood,
to stop.
the muscle starves.
Her heart, her lungs,
drain.
this is called the whole body standard, and then a heart could conceivably be translated from a cadaver. But the more the heart stops, the more it doesn't have oxygenated blood, the more it's damaged. And we now know that Christian Barnard injected potassium to start her heart and was technically guilty of murder. And we'll see this controversy continues today in something called the non-heart-beating donor protocol, where the question about how long the heart stops before it's translated is still an important issue. You may also remember the case of Bruce Tucker in Virginia, right after Christian Barnard, where a black man, Bruce Tucker, was declared dead and his heart was removed, and the family did not consent, and Lauer barely escaped the charge of murder and had to retire from surgery.
You pronounced Mr. Turner dead while his heart still beat, didn't you, doctor? So you could take it.
I followed the protocol.
And this set up the fact that people of color still fear, also because of Tuskegee and Henrietta Lacks, that they might be declared dead too early for organs for transplant to other people. In 1968, the Harvard criteria of brain death came along, which solved the problem. And we had an explosion of heart transplants with miserable results, but at least if you're brain dead by Harvard criteria, where it's repeated 24 hours later, it's a very conservative criteria. And as far as I know, no one who's ever been declared dead by the Harvard criteria has ever awakened or come back. When you're Harvard dead, you're a cadaver. But because it was so conservative, it doesn't nearly meet the need for transplantable organs. And really, in some ways, this whole thing began, this whole tension about death, when we started to develop heart-lung bypass machines, respirators, ventilators, ways to keep the heart and circulation going after the brain had died from an accident or, anoxia, like drowning. And that's the technology has created some of the tensions about death. In 1981, states got together. There was a national commission, and a lot of states passed something called the Uniform Definition of Death Act in 1981. But it was a compromise because it basically had two versions of ways to declare dead. You could have brain dead, or you could be dead by circulation. And circulatory death is what most people in most of history die by. And if your heart and lungs stop, shortly thereafter, your brain doesn't get any oxygenated blood, it swells, it bursts because there's no place for it to go, and you die. Your brain is dead. But now we can change that. This is an international phenomenon. In Japan, it's still basically culturally accept circulatory death. It's very rare for families to accept brain death. As a result, there aren't a lot of heart donors in Japan. These two different definitions of death create problems for the ordinary public. Around 1979, there was a hospital where on Wednesday, they told the newspapers that the patient had died, and then they said on Friday, life support was removed and organs were transplanted. Well, the newspapers had a fit because they asked, like, did you lie to us on Wednesday? Did the patient really die? Or did the patient die twice? What was going on? I actually had to go give a talk to kind of soothe some feathers about this. We should say today is that the patient was declared dead on Wednesday by neurological criteria. Respirators and ventilators were removed and organs were transplanted. In 19, clear. The controversy has continued. It hasn't really gotten much better since 1981. It would be nice if there was a point where we could see a soul emerge from the body. Aquinas thought that God ensouled a fetus 90 days if it was male. But we've never been able to see that. We've never been able to see a soul leave the body if there is a soul. So that doesn't work. But there's been a great deal of tension ever since about ways to expand the definition of death to increase more organs for transplantation. And this has become even more urgent in America, where because of the overdose crisis from OxyContin and fentanyl, it's still true that about 100,000 Americans, many of them young, die every year of overdoses. And they still have pretty good organs, and they're candidates for transplantation, if we could agree on the criteria of death. And of course, it's a big deal to ask a family who struggled with a child and addiction to, in the emergency room, consent to organ donation. They have to really be sure and trust the system that their child's interests are being admired and respected. So this brings us to the most controversial thing that's going on now in bioethics. It's been going on for decades. It's called the non-heart-beating donor protocol. It started at the University of Pittsburgh. It's used in a lot of academic medical centers. And for dying patients, it's basically a way of managing death to facilitate organ transplantation. It's a controversy that has blown up among bioethicists. One year there was a woman bioethicist named Mary Ellen Waite at Cleveland State University. She went on 60 Minutes, basically charging the Cleveland Clinic and the University of Wisconsin with not being completely honest with families about what was going on, maybe even skirting the definition of death in some states. Well, so what's going on there? Well, so in the non-heart-beating donor protocol, the patient is wheeled to the operating room, and the heart, lung machine, respirators are withdrawn. Everything is withdrawn that might keep the heart beating. Once the heart stops, they wait either 2 minutes or 5 minutes, depending on the protocol, to see if the heart spontaneously comes back. And if it doesn't, the patient is declared dead by circulatory reasons, because he's not brain dead in this case, and the heart is removed for transplantation. The problem is you could do CPR on some of these patients and restart the heart. You could use a defibrillator and shock it and bring it back. Is that a good thing? Well, supposedly the person's dying of, a glioma or cancer, other cancer, and there's no point. But there has to be trust in the family that there's no point. And it's also true that it does give grandpa, take away the 1 in a million chance that he will just wake up and recover and have another couple months of life. It's not clear that families really understand what's going on here. And again, the longer they wait after the heart stops, the more the heart is damaged, the less suitable it is for transplantation. So again, there's that tension that goes back to Christian Barnard and the first heart transplant about how long you wait with a stopped heart before it's suitable for transplantation, and exactly when you declare death. A recent article in the Hastings Center report, a leading bioethics journal, basically reviewed the literature and what's been going on since 1981. And the author, a female bioethicist, basically concluded that we have not come closer to consensus, and actually we're probably even further apart. There's racial distrust. There's a distrust about money because the donor families don't get anything. We know that surgeons and the system make a lot of money doing this. So there is a lot of controversy still about how you're declared dead and by whom. And of course, the doctors doing the transplant shouldn't be the doctors declaring death, because they have a conflict of interest. There should be two different sets of doctors. But if they work in the same hospital, they're probably going to know that the surgeons need organs for transplant. So that's where we are about death. I hope you learned something today. If you did, share the video, ring the bell, subscribe. Thank you.